Alright, so here we are in Spain off of a good race in, I believe it was Canada was the last race, if I am correct.
I've had a chat with the R&D team about the new parts, and we're happy that they've been integrated into the car okay. With any luck, you'll be able to feel the improvement, so go and give them a try.
Yeah, it was going to be Canada that we finished off a great race with. And are we getting those parts in? Are those parts in? Can I see it from here? No, I can't. We have some R&D parts coming in. So, yeah. And, yeah, I'm very glad that we didn't have to deal with the incident from Imola again, with the visual issues or the tire issues, but there's not much else to that. So we're going to go ahead and knock out practice, and then qualifying, and then the main race. Alright, so here we are qualifying in Spain, a little bit of overcast, and our time frames for our tires. The hards not doing so well. P20 for 117, 2 seconds apart from each tire set. And getting better from the mediums to softs as we're coming through sector 3 here in Q1, setting a pretty decent time across the line with a 113.9. And then our final run of Q1, just barely in an improvement there at the end, but no improvement overall. But that's good enough for provisional pole 1. P1 into Q2. Q2, our only good run here as we're coming in behind Sonoda. It's going to be very close to our similar time, 113.4, so that's a similar time. No improvement, but we do make it into Q3 as a provisional P1. Our first run of the final qualifying session, 113.0, so there has been improvement throughout. And then our final run through for Q3, no improvement, but that's still going to be good enough for Q1, starting in pole.
And with qualifying complete, let's review our top 3 today. Johnson, Russell and Lewis Hamilton. With qualifying wrapped up now, we have our grid lineup for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
Alright, so feeling a lot better than I did coming into qualifying with those times that we had. And those softs, very accurate. And yeah, less than 1/10, or less than 2/10 behind myself and George Russell. So I hope we don't have to fall into the same situation that we did in Bahrain, getting that qualifying pole position. So let's hope that our race strategy and race overall will be good for us and hopefully get our first race win. Let's go ahead and go to the main race.
So many eventful races here in Barcelona over the years. Do you remember Max Verstappen's first win on debut for Red Bull here in 2016? 2 years before, we had the dramatic coming together of Hamilton and Rosberg going towards turn 4. There's always a treat in store as we head back to the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya for the Spanish Grand Prix. It's an updated track at Catalunya, and the popular opinion in the paddock is that we never wanted the chicane in the first place. That's now been gone, the final corner is much faster, and at 2.9 miles and 14 turns, we await the Spanish Grand Prix. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Johnson lines up on pole position, and starting next to them is George Russell. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Hamilton, Sainz, Verstappen, Norris, Leclerc, Perez, Hülkenberg, Bottas, Oscar Piastri, Gasly, Mick Schumacher, Magnussen, Ocon, Sargent, Jackson, Joe, Mayer and Yuki Tsunoda. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Alright, so here we are, pole position. And I don't know why it's wanting me to run a longer set of mediums. We'll see what we can do, and we'll get right to the race.
The formation lap gets underway then, and it's going to be interesting today to see how the dry conditions could affect the lifespan of the tyres. As the cars come back towards the grid to line up for the start of the race, each driver will be wanting to get the best start they possibly can, and they'll be hoping to finish today's race on the podium, and failing that, within the points.
All right, you can see that one-stop strategy, mediums on lap 10. We're going to try to push it till lap 12 and see if we can get some life out of these hard tires. I know we didn't run them too hard in practice, but they didn't really feel very confident. So we're going to have to hope to defend as much as possible on these hard tires before we go into the more comfortable tires of those mediums as the rest of the cars are lining up on the grid. Our 5 red lights are off. Russell and Hamilton starting up behind us, and we are off to a pretty good start. And as we're looking back behind us here, about a half-second gap already, so we're a near perfect start for us as the Mercedes are fending off the Red Bull of, I believe that was Verstappen, and the 2 Ferraris coming into turn 2 and 3 here as Hamilton and Russell side by side fighting for spots. Now that's Russell and Verstappen fighting for position there, as Hamilton is able to close in here pretty close, and he's on the better racing line than we are, but we're just trying to get heat into these tires. See how close Hamilton is coming up behind us, trying to close that half-second gap as we're moving into sector 2, coming up to this long left-hander. You can see the shading, or I don't know, the texture or highlighting of the car. I honestly don't know. I try to troubleshoot. I've tried to look up stuff. If you guys know what's going on with that, please let me know in the comments or message me on Discord. My Discord link is in the description. We're rounding out this long double left-hander after that DRS straight into sector 3, and 7/10 gap now coming up here, moving on to the downhill section. We missed our braking point, so Hamilton's there about half a second gap between us on this final corner, but that's not going to be good enough to pass us on lap 1. In fact, he's going to be overtaken by Verstappen, and Verstappen is not going to be able to overtake us till the end of lap 4. So lap 5, DRS train between Verstappen, Hamilton, and Russell. And yeah, that's Russell, Leclerc, Sainz. So everybody's technically having DRS train. But easy pass for Verstappen. We don't fight it. I mean, with tire life and how these tires were in first practice, we needed to hang on to these tires as best as possible. Lap 8 now. At the end of lap 8, we have Hamilton making his position on us on the main straight. We have Russell we move in front of to try to block him for that position so we don't lose more positions than we need to. So lap 9 now, see the snap there as we try to correct the car, and we're really starting to feel these hard tires. So Hamilton up in the P2, Verstappen way up there, about 1.7 now, 2.1 seconds ahead as we're on the end of lap 10. We hit that meter board as we're trying to hit our racing line in defense against George Russell. Max Verstappen and Hamilton coming in on lap 11 earlier than I expected. I thought my pit stop was going to be a late pit stop, but pretty evened out as we give that position to Russell here through turn 1. Coming out of turn 3 now, to see he's gaining and gaining on us as we have the 2 Ferraris behind us as of this point. But on this same lap, lap 11, Callie Mayer coming through sector 2. I believe that's behind the Alpine, if not the AlphaTauri. Let's see, coming through this long right-hander to the DRS, and her engine goes out. So she didn't have an engine failure. You have Verstappen and Lewis there passing from their pit stops, and that's going to be causing a sector 2 yellow flag. I thought it was going to be a safety car, but not quite enough. This is where we're at the time of her having to pull off to the side. We're defending against Carlos Sainz into turn 1, and it's the same situation. We hold on to it as best as we can. And I thought about giving it up to him, but with that snap of oversteer, I knew, okay, it's time to come in. So the end of lap 12, the end of the tire life for these hards is here. And yeah, so he holds on to a decent gap behind us, and he's coming in right behind us. So Bottas and Sargent, if they don't come in on this lap, they're going to be provisional P1, P2. But you have Verstappen and Hamilton there in P5 and P6. So coming in for a pit stop, hoping for a better pit stop than last week or the previous race onto these mediums. And from the looks of it, there's no issues. And we managed to stay ahead of Carlos Sainz. We have Verstappen and Hamilton passing us. Looks like Bottas and Sargent come into the pits as we're coming out onto the track. Lap 13, and we're halfway there. We have Sergio Perez, who was on the track previously, splitting myself and Sainz along with Norris and Russell and Leclerc. So we have a whole train of cars here for DRS. DRS is still active because that yellow flag wasn't a full safety car, but it's going to take us a lot of work to catch up to Verstappen and Hamilton. See, we jumped to lap 20 now. They were a few seconds ahead of us, and they're side by side fighting. I knew on these medium tires, I felt a lot better. A little bit of contact there on Hamilton. No warning, no penalty for us from that contact. We controlled the car as best as we could. And with this position right now, we're back in the fight for the podium. It's just a matter of fighting Verstappen for the lead. A little bit of contact there as we're coming through Sector 2, the start of Sector 2. And yeah, I wasn't really sure what to do, but I knew at this point, when Verstappen and Hamilton, I know 2 laps isn't much, but 2 laps, the difference on tire life means a lot. So we have DRS here on the DRS straight. We take the wide open line, try to keep our momentum. A little bit of contact there as he comes back onto the line. We correct ourselves. And Max Verstappen spinning out here in Sector 3, the double right-hander. And yeah, we're going to be going on board with Max Verstappen here as we get to the 100-meter marker. We see that we go wide, and he moves on the line. A little bit of contact there as he gets ahead of us, and you see he puts too much power down and he flips around. There's the Mercedes of Hamilton and the Ferrari and the Red Bull of Sergio Perez. Going back to our car's perspective, we hit that 100-meter mark going wide, like I said. And here comes Max on the line. Contact, we correct. You can see there's no contact here between myself and Max. We managed to make a last-second ditch out of the way, and luckily no penalty for us. And I thought, at this point, safety car's coming out. I thought about pitting. You can see me correcting and staying out. So at this point, with the safety car out on lap 21 at that, we have 2 laps to defend ourselves against the Ferraris and the Red Bull of Sergio Perez. I don't know if Hamilton is there as well at this point. I'm just focusing on getting ready for the safety car restart. And yeah, 2 laps to go, and nothing but fresh air in front of us, and a first place trophy ready for us at that podium as we're off to a decent start. You see the Ferraris back there, and yes, the Quadrant McLaren, the Mercedes Hamilton back a few positions as well. And as we're coming through these first few corners as best as we can, trying to be careful about putting too much power down, staying on the racing line as best as possible. You can see the Ferrari closing in on us, trying to make a move on the outside. We go wide here, a little bit of a tire contact, no warning, no penalty, as it is tire contact, and he backs out of it. I believe that is Sainz behind us. And yeah, so not really much. And you can see the gap built up with the Red Bull of Sergio Perez ahead of the Ferrari now. They ended up fighting throughout the last lap or so, creating a gap between myself and them. So I just focused on not making any mistakes through this last sector, realizing that this is going to be our first win of the season. 1.5 second gap between myself and Perez. It's going to be a first career win with Aston Martin.
Guys, thank you so much. You've been great all weekend. To everyone back in the factory, on the pit wall, you've been amazing.
Oh, superb driving. That is the race win, my friend. Well done.
Aston Martin deserved a win today, and they got it. So, Natalie, What do you think helped them deliver this result?
I really feel the track layout combined with the track temperatures we saw today suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
It's time to present the top drivers with their trophies for today's Grand Prix. And there are a lot of people in the paddock very happy with this result. It's Aston Martin on the top step. Let's have a look then at the driver's standings. Well, that lead at the top has somewhat shrunk today. Let's focus on the driver of the day. Natalie Pinkham, come on, who do you pick?
I have to give it to Johnson.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. The lead at the top comes down after a strong weekend from the challenging pack. Meanwhile, Ferrari have improved their position. A strong weekend for them as they fight their way towards the top. Well, that was certainly an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.
All right, so that was a very surprising outcome with that incident from Max Verstappen there at the end. I know we did tap him there, but yeah, that contact. And let's see what actually happened. Incidents: Max Verstappen severe collision with Leclerc, and then unserved penalty for 5 seconds. And then Leclerc up in P3 for the podium. And that was the post spin. And I was lucky to evade that and get out of the way as he was trying to fight the Ferraris for position. Or that was Sergio Perez later on. Sorry, Max Verstappen spinning out in front of us after we tapped him in the back. And yeah, Mick Schumacher didn't get into the points, but we did get plenty of points over the weekend. Oscar Piastri there in P9. And then, no, I don't believe the Sauber did be able to stay in. So we were running a very strong strategy. We went what I thought was going to be long on the hards, and it turns out it wasn't really long at all. And then, yeah, so Max Verstappen yet again having not a great season so far, as we're coming into about a third of the way through. Mick Schumacher still sitting there in 11th for the driver standings. We bump up to 8th, I believe, if we weren't already. And then Ferrari taking that third position in the constructor standings and bumping it up to P2. Red Bull 199 points now, 33 points behind Mercedes. And yeah, George Russell seeming to lead the charge on the championship for this season like he did last season. So Charles Leclerc up there in P2 against Lewis Hamilton, Sergio Perez, passing his teammate Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen down to P5. So now we're in contention to the 3 people above us. So Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris, Max Verstappen. If we keep racing like we did today, we'll get up there in the top 5 and try to drive for the Drivers' Championship. But enough of that. I'm very happy about that race win. Even though it did take place in our second season, our first year with Aston Martin, I'm very happy with the performance that we were able to put in today. And looking forward to more wins, hopefully this season. And then possibly a Constructor Championship next season. So, we'll see you guys in the next episode for Austria.